This is a video for the P07. You know, it's the Phantom gun, the one that you can't get the camera to focus on no matter what. It's kind of stealthy. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the draw cycle, the draw stroke, and a dry practice sequence. So the draw stroke with these guns is, and pistols in general, is to establish a proper grip while it's in the holster. It's going to be a hard one. You know, the holster. So I want to perform it with my HK pistol, and then I'm going to show you with the CZ later. So the draw stroke is really pretty simple, but it comes in about 4 steps. You establish a grip on the pistol in the holster. That's the first step. Second step is to clear the holster, pull straight up. Third step is to rotate the pistol to level, and then step number 4 is to drive the sights all the way to the target. Okay, and that lines it up with, and you're bringing it up underneath your shooting eye and into level with your eye so that your sights are on the target, the thing that you're looking at. Okay, so in that first step, we establish a grip on the pistol. The second, we got to do something with this hand. And there's a reason for why I'm going to talk about this hand. This hand is always going to want to be in this position right here for step 1. There's a reason. You can work it into some combatives and other things, but either way, it's out of the way of you're not over here. You may be pulling clothing aside, but you want to stop right here in the center with that clothing. And the reason why is you've cleared, you've rotated, and as you drive toward the target, you're going to get your secondary and your support hand lined up with the pistol to draw. So what it looks like is we've come on, okay, and we're coming across from that front of that body and into line with our eyes and the target. Okay, so the dry practice cycle is to draw the gun from the holster wherever that is. Like if you're got a appendix carry, establish, rotate, so you're doing all that. And you get the gun out at the target and verifying, of course, that your gun is unloaded, right, and everything, so you're not going to blow a hole in anything that you don't want. You have the gun in the condition, I decocked it. You're in the condition for when you've drawn, rotated, drive the sights to the target. You can press the trigger with your sights aligned with whatever you've selected as your dry practice target. Something that, you're still safe, but it's something you can aim at and you utilize on a target or something and point it in a safe direction. Okay, so we press the trigger all the way to the rear. We do this over here. Press the trigger all the way to the rear. Now, in the dry practice cycle, we want to practice our trapping the trigger back, our follow through. So we'll come off with our support hand off the gun, and we rack the slide so we can cycle it, but we still have the trigger pressed so we can test or practice the next step, which is to release just enough to, you can hear that click, that's the reset. And then we're back on the trigger, bang. Looks like that, bang. Okay, once we've done that, finger off the trigger, okay, to come back into a retention. So we have a low ready or compressed ready. Gun's level. It's pointed at our intended target. And that's the resting position. From arms out, you come back into that compressed ready. I like to see the elbows down because it's a little more defensive. They're not out where somebody can grab them and rotate you and everything else. They have to grab your whole body. So for defensive purposes, you're a little more compressed. Plus, you're not hitting anything with your elbow if you're too close to a car or wall or corner or something. So as you come back in, you can't perform your reloads, right, from that same position, but you're in that position. So from here, we can go back into the holster, and that's your cycle. So it comes out all the way, boom, you fired, You're doing your reset, right? You're done with that. Finger off the trigger, that's a conscious decision as you come back in to your compressed ready. And here's this one final thing. We have a double action pistol. This is a CZ P07. And this has the decocker, and we're going to use it every single time for reholstering. So we come back into the compressed ready. I want you to remember, decock. Watch that hammer. Decocks. Okay. Then when we are coming back into the holster, you can put your thumb on the back of that hammer. If it was back, it'll feel different than when it's down. So you can feel that, and as you're going into your holster, anything that might be pressing that trigger or trying to push it, you'll be able to feel that through the hammer. So you can safely put that gun into its holstered position and not have the kind of chances of accidental discharge if you're not watching that hammer. You don't want to put it in with the hammer back. That's pretty obvious because even less trigger pull. And you really should get into the habit of having that thumb on the back of the hammer as you're inserting the pistol. That way you can feel if anything's pushing that trigger. And there's no race to just jam that thing back into the holster. That's always going to be a bad thing. There's no race. There's no, first prize for gun back in the holster. There might be first prize for getting that gun out, but there is not first prize for getting it back in the holster. You can see that my draw can hit things, so you got to watch out where your elbow is. When you're drawing, you can hit things. You can see where the draw is fast, but reholstering is slow and deliberate, and you're watching that thing. I can't stress that one enough, because no matter where your holster is on your body, something can get in there. We don't want to have that happen. Some of the striker fired pistols are even worse. They have no safety, and then they have a lightweight trigger that everybody likes and they're going to rave about. But the next thing you know, they're accidentally discharging because they're just jamming it in their holster. They don't know if something's in the way and it's going to touch that trigger, and it's pointed maybe at a body part or their ass or something. So you got to watch out, and that's what we're doing. It's one of the reasons why I really like this type of pistol. It's double action. Plus, we can do all these things that are ultra safe with it as we're dealing with a loaded pistol. So that's the dry practice cycle, and you want to do that until your sights are always aligned on the target that you're looking at when the pistol is out, and you want to be paying particular attention to the other thing, which is when you press the trigger that the gun is not being disturbed and the sights are on target all the way through the trigger press. And then you run your follow through, and you can run through that cycle just hundreds and hundreds of times, and you're going to need to do it many times in order to get the muscle memory to do it right, so that you are on the trigger when you're pressing the sights toward the target, and you're off the trigger when you're coming back into your compressed ready, and you're remembering to both decock and keep your finger or your thumb on the back of the hammer as you're inserting into the holster. So that's the dry practice draw, stroke, and trigger press cycle.